Welcome to Just Asia, AHRC TV's weekly human rights program. These are the headlines. Indonesia's executed drug kingpin, alleged official involvement in drug trade. Mother and daughter gang raped in India as police fail to answer calls for help. Missing Indian girl surfaces after 10 years of being sold and raped. Thai universities ban discussions on constitution. Trials of human rights activists and lawyers continue in China. Nepal's police attended workshop on Caste Discrimination Act. Pakistan indifferent to persons on death row. Urgent appeals from Pakistan and Indonesia. Welcome to AHRC TV's Just Asia. I am Julia Roblondo. This week, Just Asia begins with Indonesia, where the debate on the death sentence is heating up after executed Freddy Budiman's message shocked the country. Before his execution on July 29th, drug kingpin Freddy Budiman broadcasted a message that he had cooperation from the police and the National Narcotic Board for smuggling drugs to Indonesia. Freddy added that he was supported by a military general when he smuggled drugs from Medan, North Sumatra to Jakarta. In total, Freddy had transferred a total of IDR 450 billion to the National Narcotic Board and 90 billion to the police. 4 convicted death row inmates were executed by firing squad on July 29th. Mr. Freddy Budiman, Mr. Michael Tatus Igwe, Mr. Humphrey Ike alias Doctor, and Mr. Sek Osman. While Freddy's message suddenly became hot news, he was brought to Nusa Kambangan prison and shot to death. There are calls for Freddy's story to be investigated and for firm sanctions to be placed on any involved officers. At the same time, the government should also review its policy in executing death row inmates, particularly as another 10 death row inmates are awaiting their final Supreme Court review. For further details, Just Asia speaks to Ricky Gunawan, lawyer for one convicted death row inmate.
As we know that on last Friday early morning or Thursday evening, Indonesia carried out its third round executions. There were 14 death row prisoners who were scheduled to be executed, but on the very last minute only 4 people executed. 3 from Nigeria and 1 from Indonesia. 3 from Nigeria are Humphrey Ejike Jefferson, Michael Titus, Sek Osmane, and then 1 from Indonesia is Freddy Budiman. There are some irregularities or serious violations with regard to the executions last week. First, a number of death row prisoners have submitted clemency, and according to the Constitutional Court decisions in June, the deadline of 1 year limitation for clemency submission has been revoked, which means each death row prisoner still has their clemency rights. The second one is about the notice of executions. Prisoners received their notifications on Tuesday afternoon, which means 72 hours after the notification, which means would be on Friday night, would be the day of the executions. But the Attorney General Office carried out the execution on Thursday night or Friday early morning. So it's less than 72 hours. Obviously, from the beginning, Attorney General Office kept the process in secret. There are a lot of lack of transparency with regard to the identities of the persons to be executed, nationalities, and as to when the execution would be carried out. Including until today, there has been no information official from the Attorney General Office why only 4 people were executed, and then what will happen with the 10, whether the postponement is permanent or temporary, because anytime they can carry out the execution soon as well.
Next, India saw the gang rape of a mother and daughter in Uttar Pradesh. On July 29th, late at night, a family was on their way from Noida to Shahjahanpur when their car was waylaid by a notorious gang on the national highway. Isolating the other family members, the criminals gang raped the 2 women and stole money and other valuables from them before disappearing. The family called the police on 100 around 1:30 a.m., but their calls remained unanswered, and the police finally arrived at the crime scene only at 5 a.m. after the family's relatives contacted the police station. The women also alleged that the doctor at the hospital they went to refused to believe they were raped. On August 1st, 5 men were arrested, 3 of whom have been identified by the survivors, while 7 police officers have been suspended. Another case of rape and police inaction in India emerged on August 3rd when a 22-year-old woman surfaced 10 years after disappearing. The girl went missing in July 2006 from northeast Delhi, and her family searched in vain for 5 years, complaining to the police and pleading with the authorities to take action. The woman has alleged that she was kidnapped and raped over 10 years, having been sold and resold to different men. According to the news reports, the 22-year-old woman said, "A woman and a man abducted me. They took me to the Ambala and sold me to a man for 30,000 rupees. Later, I was sold to another man for 40,000 rupees. He and another man raped me. I tried to escape, but they caught me. After that, I was raped by many more men." She said she was sold and resold at least 8 times and raped by over 30 men. The police authorities have said that they will investigate this case, claiming ignorance regarding the family's many visits to the police over the years. Next, various Thai universities are complying with the junta's censorship measure by prohibiting their students and lecturers from discussing the junta-sponsored draft charter and the August referendum. On Monday, Ubon Ratchathani University's Dean of Political Science announced the cancellation of a public seminar titled "A Free and Fair Constitutional Referendum and Its Implication for the Future of Thai Democracy," planned for August 2nd due to requests from the university executives and the provincial governor. Similarly, Chiang Mai University also announced the cancellation of its press conference titled "3 Rejections in Referendum" on Monday, due to an order from the university's executives. Academic Somchai Prichasilapakul told the media that the university is gradually turning into a military camp. Earlier on Saturday, July 30th, the president of Mahidol University received a complaint letter from the Thai Election Commission regarding Kotom Arya, the director of Mahidol University's Research Center for Peace Building, who usually criticizes the junta and the draft charter. The letter wanted the university to urge Kotom to stop the criticism. At the same time, Jirawat Sanichon, deputy dean of Khon Kaen University's Faculty of Agriculture, barred student activists of the Dao Din group from hosting Talk for Freedom, a public discussion on the draft charter to be held on Sunday. However, the students insisted on going ahead with the event. To learn more, Just Asia interviews Jatupat Bon Pataraska, an activist from the Dao Din group.
คิดว่าณวันนี้เนี่ยทางมหาลัยเนี่ยได้แสดงจุดยืนที่ชัดเจนแล้วว่าไม่ใช่เป็นมหาวิทยาลัยของไทยอีสานไม่ได้เป็นมหาวิทยาลัยของอุทิศเพื่อสังคมอีกต่อไปจะเป็นมหาลัยการ เพราะฉะนั้นพื้นที่เสรีภาพในมหาลัยมันไม่มีครับเพราะว่าคำว่าเสรีภาพในสถานการณ์ปัจจุบันนี้เนี่ยมันถูกทำให้แคบมากกลายเป็นเสรีภาพที่ต้องเห็นด้วยกับคสช.เป็นตามแนวทางของเขาแต่ขณะเดียวกันเสรีภาพของนักศึกษาหรือเสรีภาพของประชาชนไม่สามารถทำได้เพราะมันเป็นความเห็นที่แย้งกับคสช.ผมเลยรู้สึกว่าอุดมการณ์ของมหาลัยที่เคยตั้งเจตจำนงไว้จะเป็นมหาลัยเพื่อไทยอีสานเป็นมหาลัยเพื่อมีสิทธิเสรีภาพมันไม่ใช่ความจริงนะฮะมันในทางปฏิบัติเนี่ยเขาชัดเจนมากที่จะเลือกข้างเขาไม่ได้เลือกข้างความถูกต้องเลยเขาเลือกข้างผู้มีอำนาจเลือกข้างของเผด็จการเพราะฉะนั้นในเมื่อบรรยากาศของมหาลัยมันเป็นอย่างนี้มันก็จะหล่อหลอมสร้างมันไม่ได้สร้างพลเมืองที่มีคุณภาพแต่มันจะสร้างหุ่นยนต์ที่คิดเหมือนกันไม่สามารถคิดเป็น
In China, meanwhile, the trial of detained human rights activists continues after the government's 2015 crackdown on dissent. Activist Tsai Ya-min was given a suspended 3-year sentence after he reportedly confessed to colluding to subvert the state. Accused of working with rights lawyers from the Feng Ryu law firm to attack the national legal system and provoke people's hatred against the government, Tai was given a relatively light sentence, suggesting he might have cooperated with the investigation. With his sentence suspended for 4 years, he will live under restrictions and surveillance during that time and could be sent to prison if he talks to journalists or resume public activism. Many of the detained lawyers and activists were associated with the Fengri law firm previously headed by Cao Shifeng, who is also expected to go on trial this week. Before the firm was shut down in July 2015, it was known for defending the disfranchised and those trying to build civil society in China. A prominent lawyer at the firm, Wang Yu, who represented feminist activists and members of banned spiritual movement Falun Gong, appeared in a videotaped interview on Monday, denouncing Cao Shifeng and blaming foreign forces for the law firm's activities. According to the human rights groups, Wang's interview was clearly coerced and part of an attempt by the Chinese authorities to lend legal legitimacy to its crackdown. Although Wang Yu has reportedly been released on bail after participating in the videotaped interview, her husband remains in detention, facing possible trial on subversion charges, and authorities are watching her grandparents and teenage son. According to the China Human Rights Lawyers Concern Group, that means Wang's freedom and her family's safety could be threatened if she were to speak out. In Nepal, the Asian Human Rights Commission, in partnership with the Red of Nepal, organized a regional workshop with police officers on the caste-based discrimination and untouchability, Act 2011. The 2-day workshop on July 29th to 30th was well attended by police officers from 11 districts of the eastern region, as well as civil society members, Dalit advocates, and media personnel. The overall objective of the workshop was to protect and promote the rights of those suffering from caste-based discrimination and untouchability. There was a special focus on empowering police officers on the Caste-Based Discrimination Act, its importance and difficulties in execution. While experts discussed domestic and international law aspects, Police Inspector Ganga Paldal of the Eastern Regional Police Office presented the nature of discrimination cases registered in his region. Participants also discussed whether untouchability should be considered a civil or criminal offense, and whether implementation of laws will act as deterrents.
किन हुँदैन भने त्यसको त्यो शक्तिशाली वर्ग जो छ त्यसले त्यो हटाउन लागेको छैन शक्तिशाली समूह जो छ पावर प्ले गर्ने जोसँग शक्ति सम्बन्ध जसको बढी छ त्यसले हटाउन त्यति प्रभावकारी ढङ्गले लागेन र जो कमजोर समूह थियो कमजोर छँदै थियो त्यसले गर्दाखेरि त्यो हट्नु त्यो भएर यो शक्तिशाली समूह लाग्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरामा जो हिजो उहाँले उठाउनुभयो त्यो असाध्यै महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा हो र अर्को महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा खास गरी हामी प्रहरी अधिकारी अधिकृत जीवहरू यहाँ हामी छौँ अर्को महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा उहाँले के भन्नुभयो भने राज्यले यो मुद्दालाई हैन सरकारवादी मुद्दा बनाउनको पछाडि राज्यले यसलाई जस्तो 2048 सालकै मुलुकी ऐनमा जातीय भेदभाव छुवाछुत विरुद्धको व्यवस्था त थियो मुलुकी ऐन अन्तर्गत 10 क नम्बरमा तर त्यतिखेर त्यही कुरा त्यही जातीय भेदभाव र छुवाछुत चाहिँ दुनियाँभरि थियो है मान्छे विभेद भएको मान्छेसित अदालत मुद्दा छ 2060 साल भदौ 12 गतेको निर्णयले यसलाई सरकारवादी बनाइयो अनुसूचीमा सरकारी मुद्दा सम्बन्धी ऐनको अनुसूचीमा राखिसकेपछि यसले भन्न खोजेको के यो राज्यले भने अब यो समुदाय सबैभन्दा कमजोर छ त्यसको पक्षमा राज्य हुनुपर्छ राज्यले त्यसको प्रोटेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ त्यसको संरक्षण गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने त्यो भएर अब हाम्रो जिम्मेवारी भनेको समाजको सबैभन्दा पछाडि परेको समुदाय समूह है जसलाई राज्यले जिम्मा लियो है किनभने त्यो सबैभन्दा कमजोर छ पछाडि परेको छ शक्तिशाली वर्ग शक्तिशाली समूह त्यहाँको जो छ त्यसले चाहिँ विभेद गर्छ दमन गर्छ अत्याचार गर्छ त्यसको विरुद्धमा राज्यले सुरक्षा गर्नुपर्छ भनेर जुन कुरा ल्यायो त्यो अब हाम्रो जिम्मामा आइसक्यो भने हामीले अब त्यसलाई सबैभन्दा पछाडि परेको कमजोर समूहको रक्षाको निम्ति राज्यले हामीलाई खडा गरेर बुझ्नुपर्छ त्यो महत्त्वपूर्ण।
Moving to Pakistan, The country has gone from a non-executing state to an executing state in the last 19 months. At present, every month, 22 persons are hanged. Starting from December 2014, when the moratorium on hanging was lifted, 413 persons have so far been executed. The military forced Pakistan's civilian government to lift the moratorium after 150 children and staff were massacred in Peshawar on 16 December 2014 by terrorists. Although only hardened criminals and terrorists were to be executed, among the 413 individuals executed so far, hardly 15 to 20 were terrorists. The rest were all victims of poor investigation, custodial torture and forced confessions, unfair trials and poor performance of the lower judiciary. The government, however, does not want to review its policy on execution under pressure from the security establishment. Indifferent to the plight of many prisoners who should not even be on death row, such as those arrested as children or suffering from severe physical or mental illnesses, the government is all set to complete the execution of about 8,000 persons. Finally, the Urgent Appeals Weekly features two cases from Pakistan and Indonesia. In Pakistan, Baloch publisher and employee of Civil Hospital Karachi was taken away on July 26 by plainclothes persons impersonating as state intelligence officers, and since then, his whereabouts are unknown. Wahid Baloch was taken away from a bus as he was returning home from a wedding simply because his name as written on his identity card was Baloch. Police have refused to file a first information report. In Indonesia, police officers acted in support of a development company that assaulted, arrested, and shot inhabitants of Lingga village. Police used live bullets and caused the death of one villager. As a law enforcement agency, the police ignored reports filed by villagers about the company violations and to date have failed to conduct a proper investigation into this incident. That is all for this episode of Just Asia. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia or www.alrc.asia/justasia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.